Guatemala. The stability of Guatemala is what we're going to go over. This is Kevin Williams. This is for Colorado Christian University. ACO 601 Economy course with Dr. Isaac Klim. All right, so in Guatemala, when you look at the numbers, it seems like that they have realized a growth, and they are still the largest economy in Central America. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, well, what about Mexico, right? Mexico is in North America, so keep that in mind. Okay, so the economics look healthy. They look healthy, 123.31 billion. It looks very, very good. With growth and on paper they are growing. The numbers have gone up. The unemployment rates, I think it was like 2 point something, and everything looks so great. And Guatemala almost looks like they don't need help. The World Bank estimates that Guatemalans live on less than $8.30 per day, and now that fact kind of is like where it kind of points to what's really going on here. And we notate that the government, their job sector, their policies, you think about their market and how it's all set up. And it's really set up where it seems like it is investable. It's growing. It has good numbers. Everything seems pretty good, right? And they have a central bank, and the interest rates are 3.5, which seems like it could be better than the United States at times with those things. And but there is a hidden cost, and the hidden cost is seen in their risk of doing business. When you do a SWOT and PEST analysis, it takes all these numbers, but then we think about how much taxation. There is a tax, the added value tax, you would say in English, and basically it means that when you buy something from your supplier, it goes from a 10-cent item to maybe a $5 item. Well, even though you haven't sold it yet, you have to pay tax because that item went up in value. The added value tax. It's basically saying, hey, you have good margins, give us money. The margins don't work that way. And because of this added value tax, when you examine Guatemala, it doesn't seem so, it doesn't seem like so hard to, have opportunity there, but that's not the case. That's not the case. So people work informally there, and who knows what they're getting paid for informal work. And they're doing this to get around severe taxation. It's like either have no business at all or get around this tax. And, a lot of people, they have different ways of making money. And one way that they do that is they try to get around tax by selling their stuff to other countries. Like they have business in the United States that they sell cheaply to, and then they then resell it, or they become distributors in another country. And the areas of agriculture is huge. It's like the majority share is the lion's share of how they make the money. Agriculture and textiles is pretty much the whole thing. It's a large portion. And, Guatemala globally sends out coffee and sugar and bananas and cinnamon and things like that. And it all seems pretty good, and, on paper. Now, we already talked about tax, and we consider what else? What is the risk of doing business in Guatemala? What is the reward? What can we do? How can we help the people? That's very important that You do that. And coffee has been a very nostalgic thing of Guatemala nowadays. People, you see Starbucks and even McDonald's, and Guatemala's coffee has a quality to it that people prefer. It is becoming another Colombia. It's becoming more of a luxury end of coffee. Um, but the Guatemala is really rural. They have a lot of farm area. They sell a lot of produce and stuff. And, this seems like a good time to consider, how do you help the Guatemalan people? Not just how you help yourself, how to make a business. That anybody can do. You buy a franchise and you go and you put it, in Guatemala where it makes sense, and you move forward. You will make money. But if you do what every single self-made billionaire has done, is that you serve the greatest good of the people, the greatest amount of people. For example, Elon Musk had Tesla, right? And Tesla has millions of cars. Bill Gates in his time, millions of computers, probably even more around the world. And you look how you can serve the largest amount of people. Your job is to serve the people if you do a business. So when we look into how could we best serve the people, and becomes clear that you need to do it in agriculture, but we need to do it in a fair way, in a way that is good for everybody. So you need to consider the process, and kind of make a economic policy for the internal in a way that's going to influence the external, being the government and other things. So you want to build a business that finds and trains and funds and connects and does these different steps to go ahead and look at it. But you have to consider the milestones that I went over in other papers: the government, the economic policy, the business environment, and things listed. And you gotta say, listen, what are the risks? And there's a risk of the narco traffickants and the mafia that's there, and they make over 50% of all crime. Well over 50% of all crime is narco traffickants and mafia. So what Guatemala needs is a business that protects the security of their borders, and their people within the borders, because once they are like going ahead and making money, there's people that go around and try, the narco traffickants, to try to extort that money from them. And so we need to consider what is the biblical stance. We need to consider their well-being and not just the financial part. So I think that I would buy the agriculture land, and I would change how they do agriculture, because the farm workers are not seen as people with money. They're not targeted. They target buses. They target other things in their various reports that I've heard and went through and things like that. They target taxis and they target a lot of things, but not the agriculture workers, because historically they're not people of means. So I would make a contract with the farmers that they will sell the land to me, but they will keep part of the business that we will do, right? I'll make a contract. I will partition the government, and I would say, hey, these low paid farmers, can they give me 25 years that these farmers will be tax free, so we can build a multiple phase structure that leads into the luxury market. And I'm assuming that I'll be able to fund it, and things like that would happen. And I would say, hey, we're going to bring financial prosperity to Guatemala. And we will also hire some of the police, and we'll do really good background checks to police the border of a secured zone or city or state, however large it is, where we have vacations and we have luxury vacations for Americans and people, and we'll have vendors come from the outside, but this will first start with the agriculture. And I would say something like, the agriculture of Guatemala, I would have the farm workers taking part of the harvest that the Bible talks about. That they will get a percent. There will be a percentage of the sale and a harvest. They'll be able to pick if they want to take the coffee with them home, or they want to get percentage of the net final bottom line income. Anyway, so there will be co-owners. There will be a certain percentage, and that would have to be that would have to be analyzed separately, but it would make up a reasonable percentage of the income, of the net income, and they will become owners. And then while we do this, we build up a city, and we build a city gate, and the walls and structure and pathway from ports and from the Guatemalan capital, where the airport is. And it would be a luxury place to go ahead and stay. We will be able to work and build there, and people would be able to invest there and be vendors there and make arts and have street performers and have people selling fruits and people selling other things, but they have to come in through the gate. They have to, they have to go ahead, follow certain rules and certain security protocols. And I will start to demonstrate to the government that there's a lot of money to be made when that tax decrease that I would ask for 25 years for the workers. And also, I would take out of that the value-added tax that Guatemala has. I think that's totally unacceptable, and bringing this kind of money to a country would be able to help. And just kind of demonstrate that when there is a peaceful, safe place, people are kind. Other countries will come and visit, and we'll be able to develop, and we'll be able to develop the skills of employees and opportunities and families, and this will make a strengthened economy and growth and value added in trade, and not value added to the tax, value added tax, and I can't say that enough. So ultimately, we would make this they would call it a department, and it would be for tourism mostly. They'll be able to bring money out of it, and it would have housing for people that work there as needed, not mandatory. And it would bring in income from other countries, and it would work with cruises and flights, and it would bring ownership back into Guatemala. So a lot of this is not my own thoughts. There's a lot of, given this luxury idea of their coffee, they already started with that. Then you give a luxury idea to the sugar and agriculture. You sell that with the branding of this kind of amusement park direction that it will go in, starting with luxury and into things for kids. And it will bring jobs, not just seasonal jobs, but it will bring jobs year-round with the agriculture and the land ownership and the process for Guatemala. Now, as we close here, I want to say that anytime a business plan tries to affect the economy, you have to do it with grace. You have to do it with kindness. Inside of the walls of the city, there's going to be a church. There's going to be a couple of churches, and there's going to be lead people globally showing up, the state-of-the-art buildings, and every attraction to bring people not just to Guatemala for a good time, but to bring people to into the situation that will change when they see the love and kindness being poured in. There's all kinds of Christian dynamics built into this, but when you put this kind of economic structure into a country that may seem to have that on paper, but in reality, it's not there. And it will be repeatable. And when you have it the size of what a state would be, a huge, large size Guatemalan state, so it's much smaller than an American state would be, you would see mayors and political figures wanting to replicate the safety and security and the financial security found in this. All right, so a lot of my information was pulled from the World Bank with, the data and software. The Guatemalan Bank gave me information as well, and here you see the references. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and may God bless you.